Hi, it's been a while, but I'm back, and in this video we're going to use Unity to create an AR app using AR Foundation. Let's have a look. So we're going to go ahead and make a new Unity project. Click on the little arrow, and we want Unity 2019.3.9F1. You can use the same version if you want to, although this should work from 2019 upwards. Then we want to select our render pipeline. We're going to use the universal render pipeline and give our project a name. Let's call it AR Foundation. Then once Unity is opened up, what we're going to go ahead and do is change our build target to iOS. So go to File, Build Settings, and get this window here. Let's change it to iOS and hit Switch Platform. This is going to take a while probably, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here just while it recompiles everything. I'm going to move my monitors around here, make this a bit more easier to see. Right, there we go. Once that's done, you can go ahead and close that window, and we're going to need to bring in a couple of packages. And to do that, we're going to use our package manager. We're going to go to Window, Package Manager. It's going to open up. So the first thing we're going to need to bring in is the AR Foundation Unity package. And you can find that by going to make sure it's on all packages, and in the advanced, just start typing AR Foundation and you'll see it pop up here. We're going to go ahead and click on the little arrow, see all versions. The version I've been using for the work that I've been doing currently is 3.13. So I'm going to go ahead and install that version. You can see we've got a little install button down on the bottom right. Go ahead and click that one. Once that's done, we're also going to need AR Kit. We're going to be putting this onto an Apple device. And you see here we've got AR Kit XR plugin. Seal versions. We want the same version we use for AR Foundation, which is 3.13, and we're going to go ahead and install. And then we can go ahead and close that window. And then there's a few things we need to do on the renderer. So if you go to your project settings, you can access those by going to build settings, player settings, and then go down to quality. Click on the pipeline that's being used for the rendering. It's going to show in the project. Click on that one, and then click on the forward renderer that it's using, and then you'll see it highlight down in the project window. If you go ahead and click on that one, and then go to add render feature, AR background render feature. And then from there, the next thing we need to do is take a quick look at the build settings. Go File, Build Settings, and Player Settings. Go ahead and close that. Just drag this out, make it a little bit easier to read. Get me out of the way. If we go down the list here, a couple of things we need to tweak just to get this working. So scroll down under Other Settings. You'll see a requires AR Kit support. Go ahead and tick that box. And then you get a warning, AR Kit requires iOS 11 or newer. So just above there, you'll see target minimum iOS version. Let's change that to 11. And under architecture, go from universal to ARM64. We can also go ahead and have a look at the bundle ID and go ahead and change this to whatever you need. Say levelup.AR Foundation. Then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll create a new scene and delete the main camera. Next up, we need to create a new AR session. To do that, right click and go down to XR AR session, and we'll also add in an XR AR session origin. Then on the AR session origin, go to the inspector, and we want to add a Ray manager. Go ahead, add component, and start typing Ray. Our Raycast Manager, and go ahead and add that. And then next up, we want to select our AR session origin and put a plane manager. AR plane manager, there we are. Want that one. And now we need to create a type of indicator. So when you start looking for a flat surface using your device, you should get like a little circle or something pop up to let you know when you found that flat surface. So we'll go ahead and create that now. We're going to go to our hierarchy, right click, create empty. And we're going to change the name of this placement quad. Oh, fuck, a spell. There we go. And then inside there, create a quad. Go to my scene view to see what's going on. I'm going to rotate this around the x-axis, and it's a little big. We don't want it to pop in to be a meter. So let's say we want it at, say, like 25 centimeters. So we can say 0.25, like so. And then we can put a texture on there. I'm just going to grab any old texture for the time being and create a material for this. I'm going to right click in assets, create material. Just going to call this placement. And I'm going to drag and drop my logo to give you a clue about what we're doing. I'm going to pop that on there. Just going to rotate my quad around like so. There we go. I've also got my headphones back on. Took them off and then forgot to put them back on. Okay, so next up we need to create our placement manager, and this is a script that's going to control the placement of our quad on our flat surfaces. So right click in the hierarchy and we're going to go to create empty and call this placement manager. And on there we're going to create a new C# script and we'll call this one placement manager. Enter, new script, create an ad. I'm not going to pay too much attention to what's going on in the project window at the moment. This is just to show you how to get up and running with AR. But you can put these in their own individual folders and keep them all nice and tidy if you want to. So let's go ahead and open up our placement manager script. We'll double click it. It's going to open up Visual Studio. And then we're going to need a couple of using statements. First one's going to be using Unity Engine dot xr dot ar foundation, and using Unity Engine dot xr dot ar subsystems. We're going to need a couple of public variables at the top, one of which is our Ray Manager. So we can say public AR Raycast Manager. And we'll call this one Raycast Manager. And then we also need a link to our pointer object, our quad. So for that we can say public game object placement indicator. And then in our start we can say our Raycast Manager is equal to find object of type AR Raycast Manager, and our placement indicator. Oops, keep it neat. There we go. And our placement indicator is going to be off by default. So let's go ahead and drop in our placement indicator before we forget. Let's wait for that script to compile. And on our placement manager, let's go ahead and drop in our placement quad. And we're looking for this at runtime. We don't necessarily have to drag it in, but we can go ahead and do that. And in our update, we need a new list, and it's going to be able to type AR Raycast hit, and we can call this hit point. A new list AR Raycast hits. And we want to raycast from the center of our screen, from the center of the device. And to do that, we can call the Ray Manager, which is our Raycast Manager, to raycast. And this is going to be from the center of our screen. So we need a new vector 2, an up and a down. And the first parameter is going to be the screen width, screen.width. That's going to be from the center, so we need to divide it by 2. And then also we need, put the wrong divide by 2. And then the screen height, screen dot height. And again, divided by 2. And we want to store that in our hit point. And we need to declare a trackable type. bracket and semicolon. Bracket. There we go. Then we need to check our list to see if we've got any hits. So we go if hit points dot count is greater than 0. We can set the placement indicator dot transform dot position is equal to hit point, and the first one pose dot position. We also need the rotation, so we say placement indicator dot transform dot rotation is equal to hit point 0, and then the pose dot rotation. So here we're assigning our placement indicator the correct position and rotation from where it's detected the hit point. If the indicator isn't active, we need to turn it on. We can say if placement indicator active in hierarchy. Now this is if we're looking to return true. If it's not on, so it's false, we put an exclamation mark at the beginning. So if the placement indicator is not on in the hierarchy, then turn it on. Like so. There we are, that's our placement manager script done. Let's go back to Unity. For a minute, we can go ahead and turn our placement quad off, so we don't want it on by default. And as soon as a hit point is detected, our placement manager is going to activate placement quad. Next up, we need to actually spawn something. So we're going to go create a spawn manager. Again, create empty, and we'll create the spawn manager. And then we want to create C# script, and we'll call it spawn manager. And once it's compiled, double click it to open up in Visual Studio. So we need a couple of variables. First one is going to be a game object, the object we want to spawn when we tap the screen. That's going to be type game object. And we're just going to call this object to spawn. Then we need a link to our placement manager. And also a link to our placement quad. And then we need a couple of balls to control whether or not we want to allow multiple spawning. So we're going to go ahead and create those. This one's going to be a ball, so public ball should spawn once. The next one's a private ball, allow multiple spawn. Initially we're going to set that to true. Don't need our start function for this one, so we'll go ahead and remove that. And in update, we need to see whether allow multiple spawn is true. So if allow multiple spawn is true, then we can do the next following things. We can say if, and we need to detect whether a touch has happened on the screen. And to do that, we can use input dot touch count is greater than 0, and input dot touches, and then 0 dot phase, and then equals when our user hits the screen, we want to instantiate our game object, our object to spawn. I'm going to store that in the game object. We're going to call this AR object. We're going to instantiate that. Then we need the object to spawn, which is going to be object to spawn. And then we need a position for this, and it's going to be where our placement quad currently is. We can say placement quad transform position, and placement quad transform rotation. Can't talk today. Finish it off with a semicolon. I just need to put the logic in for if we want to allow multiple spawns. We'll say if should spawn once. It's true. So we don't want to allow any more from here. And allow multiple spawn. Going to be false. And we can turn off then the placement quad. Or at least we could just turn off the render for the placement quad, but then leave it active in the scene in case we want to easily turn it on later on. So to do that, we can say placement quad dot get component, then we want the renderer. And for that renderer, just want its enabled property. I'm going to set it to false. And then save. Then go back to Unity. Let it do its compiling. And then we can hook up these variables here. So we want our placement manager. Let's drop that in. Placement quad. Let's drop that in. And should spawn once. We're going to say, yeah, we only want to do one. And now we need, the last variable is the object to spawn. Let's take a look at that. So now we need to bring in our 3D model. And I've already got one I've made earlier. So I'm going to bring that into my project. This is a Unity package. I'm going to drag that in and it's going to run the import process. I'm going to go ahead and import all those. It's just a quick PS5 model that I knocked up. I'll try and share it with you guys and then you'll be able to use it for the tutorial. But I'm just going to drag this prefab into the scene quick. And then all I need to do is hook that up to my spawn manager. But I don't want to do it from there. That's just me showing you the model. I can do that from the project. So drag and drop the prefab. Like so. We're going to go ahead and save that. There are a couple of little things to fix. If we go and have a look at our spawn manager and open that up in Visual Studio, you see here we're trying to turn off our placement quad, but it wasn't quite working. And that's because we're accessing this object, placement quad, but there's no render attached to this. It's actually in the child. So we need to get the child of this placement quad. And to do that, we can say placement quad dot transform dot get child dot transform, then dot get component. And we need to specify what number child we want, so you can put in the brackets there at 0. And we'll go ahead and save that. Now that will access the placement quad, look for the first child, and then turn off the renderer from there. So to sort out my lighting, we're going to try and add some light probes. To do that, I'm going to right click, go light probe group. I'm going to drop in some light probes in my scene here. Let's make sure it's at 0, 0, 0. Now I'm going to go ahead and bake my lighting. So go to my light, change it from real time to baked. Open my lighting tab. Change the light mapper to progressive GPU. Baked in direct. Make sure I've got my skybox in the top. My sun source can be a directional light. I'm going to drop my light map resolution down to 20 and hit generate lighting. That's going to go ahead and bake our light probes. Let's try that now. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to load up the app and build it to the device now. Just using an iPad. I'm moving it around. My marker in the wrong way. The marker's shown up. It's found that flat surface on the desk. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the PS5. I'm going to go ahead and tap. Oh, it's big. This should be the scale if I got my measurements right. But yeah, this is the PS5 in AR on my desk. And from here you can go and add kind of whatever. Hopefully you can still hear me okay. I'm going to sit down. But this is kind of how big it is. So yeah, this would be a good tool to measure how much space your PS5 is going to take up. And we could add a bit more to this. We could add like a shadow plane on the ground so you get that little bit of contact shadow where the PS5 meets the desk. Otherwise, yeah, pretty cool. I can't wait for it to come out. It's going to be awesome. That's my first tutorial for a while, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. And hopefully it's given you a taster for AR and what we can do. You can take this quite a few places now and expand upon it and make it even better. And if you want to, we can elaborate on it some more in upcoming videos. Take care, guys.